Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Leadnap Gaming. Today we are going to unlock the secrets of hover mode, and we're going to do it in just a few quick minutes with no added fluff. Now, before we can do that, we've got to cover the HUD because that's really the first key to understanding this. So, really quickly here, right on the left side I have my throttle control. Now, I want you to think about the throttle control not like a gas pedal. And we're not talking about cruise control mode right out the gate here, but I want you to think about it instead like the cruise control in your car. So we set the cruise control in our car to 75 miles an hour, and then we hit resume, and it gets up to it, right? That's kind of how this works, right? So we have our limiter, the little bar that moves, and that is telling the computer the maximum speed we want to go. The computer is going to direct all of the thrusters to meet that requirement in whatever matter it needs to do that, okay? On the right side, we have our thrust throttle. Now, our thrust throttle is more like the gas pedal, okay? Understand it in the sense that right now it's set to 100%, right? And at 100%, full power is going to our engines. By pressing right alt and using the scroll wheel, though, we can reduce it. And note that as we reduce it, right, if I take it all the way down, like if you see our altitude, we're starting to drop out of the sky, right? And that's because thrusters are always firing to keep us up. So, the reason I say that's important, though, is because the thrust controller is controlling the amount of power that the computer has to use to get us to the speed we set it to. So if I fly at, say, 10% thrust, I am very slowly going to gain speed going towards the speed I want to go. That's really important, especially for something as simple as landing. So, the final component of the HUD that we really need to understand is the ADI, which is the central component of this. So we can see right here in our screen, and I'm just going to kind of go to free look so that we can see this. It's not going to let us. So we have the big line, right? And the big line is our artificial horizon. And then we have our angle of attack going in 5-degree segments going up and down. We can see 5, 10 up, -5, -10 down. We also have these other little indicators in here, right? We've got the circle and the crosshair. None of that stuff's really going to matter right now. The biggest thing we're focused on is that W wing shape, because that's our actual indication of our vector against the artificial horizon. So, why is that important? Well, it's most important because when we're on the actual horizon, you'll see it shows us zeros. Fantastic. Wonderful. Now, here's the secret to hover mode right out the gate. It's like a helicopter, okay? Which means that if I nose down, I'm going to start to gain speed. Look at that. Now notice, as I'm nosing down, I'm gaining more speed than my limiter is set to. It's important you remember that, okay? And then if I press the brake, you're going to notice my nose shoots way up to about 8 degrees angle of attack to flare me up just like a helicopter does. Okay, now it's really slow to bring you back to where you were. So like if I do up, it brings me back down. The same is true, right? If I nose up, my speed picks up, but now we're going backwards. Okay, so this is the most important part of hover mode to really kind of begin to understand. If you take nothing else from today, let this be what you take out. That's the key right there. It's that as long as we stay at 0, and when we're actually on the horizon, we see the zeros show up. Notice, I'm going to take us off slightly. Bam, there go the zeros. Take us back onto the horizon. Like, we look like we're on it, right? Now we are, because we see the zeros. That's why they appear and disappear. Let's talk about landing. The first key to landing is, 1, we need to gain a lot of speed to get out of hover. So what we're going to do is we want to get as low to the ground as we can get, because the lower we are, the easier this descent becomes. We need to stay pretty much above the red line to maintain ourselves out of hover mode. Because once we go into hover mode, we lose our ability to fly like we're kind of accustomed to flying. Now, we're losing speed, which means hover mode is actually beginning to become active. And that's okay, because we're still going to just approach, but now we're going to kind of slow it up. Okay, and then you'll notice as we bring our nose up, our speed drops down, even though we're not at the horizon yet, and that's all right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and deploy my landing gear, partly because I'm in a Mako and I'm really long going down otherwise. So we want to approach, and we want to approach from the direction that has the least amount of obstacles in our path, because again, the lower to the ground we can get, the easier this becomes. Alright, so from here, I'm actually going to level out, see those zeros, and I'm going to use my reverse thrust to stop me. If I use the space brake, if I use X, right, I'm going to flare the nose up and I'm going to start going backwards, and it makes it really hard to control. So now I'm lined up. Excellent. Some people will say, great, go into Z mode here. I'm not going to, because I want to make sure I always maintain control. But what I am going to do, just going to slowly bring us down a little lower. Okay. I'm going to bring my thrust down. And now I'm going to go forward. I have a lot more control now that my thrust is down. Again, right alt and mouse wheel. Okay. Still up on target. I want to try to keep my nose as close to that zero, though, because, again, you don't have as much control that way. Now, notice, we're slowly drifting forward. We're slowly drifting down because of our thrust. That's okay. I'm just going to give us a little brief touch. Okay. Excellent. We're about where we want to be. Now we want to come to a complete stop. Okay. We're just going to gently throttle ourselves down, keeping that nose on the horizon. Keep those zeros in sight. And if you're nice and gentle and smooth, there it is. That's landing. And now let's talk about the next hardest part, which is the takeoff. For takeoff, thrust needs to be at 100%. We're going to raise our limiter way up too. We can go max. It's not going to matter. Finesse is the name of the game coming down. Finesse is not the name of the game going up. Even though hover mode works a lot like a real helicopter, we need to think of our takeoff more in terms of a fighter jet. And what that means is, I'm going to talk you through it and then we're going to do it. First, I'm going to take off. I'm going to go up vertically, okay? Just straight up, keeping myself on that 0-degree horizon line. After that, I need to build speed going forward. So let's go ahead and go up. First, we want to make sure we're at 0. We want to make sure we don't have any roll. You could hit Z here, be into the free look mode, and that will keep you locked at that. I just don't like doing that because if something goes wrong, it can be way too hard to regain control. So I'm going to stay right there, spacebar to strafe up, and I'm going to gain some altitude here, okay? I want altitude. Now that I've got that going for me, I'm going to hit cruise control. We want to go fast. We're going to stay level. And the key to this is we need to stay level until we've gained enough horizontal speed and momentum to come out of hover mode. Once we're out of hover mode, right, now I can angle up. And you see I'm losing a little bit of speed, but I'm not dropping back. There we go. Nice, gentle 20-degree climb. Our speed's climbing up. I know I'm out of hover mode. From here, I can actually kind of blast myself into a higher climb, do a little afterburner, and we're off the ground. Now, it is going to complain to me that we're overheating. It really does help if you guys do a more controlled climb. You can, as you gain more speed, you can climb higher and higher in your angle. Anyhow, folks, that's hover mode in a nutshell. It was quick, it was dirty, there's plenty I didn't cover, but hopefully that makes it so that you can actually fly and land in the game again, okay? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. As always, I love to discuss it with you. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time.